So it is time for our next Kickstarter update. I do apologize, it has been a long 3 weeks, and I just haven't had a chance to do an update. But honestly, the past 3 weeks there's not been a whole lot to update. We are still working on the same thing we were working on 4 weeks ago. That would be these guys right here. This is an entire giant box of pens and pencils that we've made. I don't know how many's in here. There's a metric crap ton. It is all of the pens and pencils we need for the August backer levels, with the exception of 40 that we are still working on getting those made. Excuse me. After we get those wrapped up, we'll be progressing into the November Scribes. The reason we are doing the Scribes first is because, as you can see, there are a ton of people that have ordered Scribes. I don't have the physical space to hold all their dice while they're waiting on their Scribes to be made. However, I can hold all their Scribes while we're waiting to get their dice made. So that's why we're making the Scribes now. Also, one of the things we're on the next was the November backers, which would be metal dice. Right now we are running through our copper dice, which, as you guys can see right there, that's what they look like. Really kind of cool. Right, there's 2D10s. And we're having to do these by complete, like basically in its entirety. So we are currently making every single copper die that has been ordered for the Kickstarter. Reason being is we've had to change the way we make dice for the metal, because of this guy right here. That is a D4. So you guys know that you stepped on any plastic D4s, they hurt. And if you've ever stepped on one of our wooden D4s, you know that they're really sharp and pointy. The metal ones were beyond that. They had an actual cutting edge on them. You could drag your finger down the edge and it would cut your skin. So instead of polishing these by hand like we were with our sanders, like we do with the wooden dice, we are going to have to go to a vibratory polisher. Something I wasn't wanting to do, just to kind of set our dice apart. But we have to in order to radius these edges. It's the only way to get those edges radiused. After talking with several machinists, that is the way to do it. Excuse me. Because we want to keep a very crisp edge without getting it super rounded. So we need to make all the copper dice, and the way we have to run through the vibratory polishers is each individual type of die has its own run in the vibratory. We actually use 3 different polishers, different media, all the way up to a steel shot. And I'll have to do another video that goes through all of that. But it lets us radius the edges just enough to make them where they're not sharp, but keep that crisp look that we want to have on our dice. The reason we are doing copper right now, we know we jumped ahead a little bit of where we were, is because one of the gentlemen that ordered copper dice in this Kickstarter, I owe a gigantic apology to. His name's James P. Walker. He along with Doug Rhea, chipped in and bought our first CNC machine during the first Kickstarter. Unfortunately, I never got James's dice. His dice have been made. They've been sitting in my office for over a year now, year and a half, long time. Reason being is that the boxes that we did for James and Doug were their specialty sets. They were the first dice that we made, and to do that we did the commemorative box. I chose to make it out of wood that we were not going to be working with ever again, and it is a sinker figured redwood that is just absolutely gorgeous. Doug's boxes came out first try, no problem. James's boxes, on the other hand, have given me fits time and time and time again. So I've finally gotten those finished. The boxes came out fine. It all had to do with the finishing. The finishing on this wood, parts of the wood absorbed the finish, and parts of it stood up nice and glossy like we're looking for. So we ended up having to go back and redo the finish like a million times until we got it right. So those are all done, and you'll be getting those along with these and a bunch of other dice as an apology. So that's why we're doing copper now. The rest of the November backers, your metal dice, they will all of November will more than likely be shipping at the same time. because of the way we have to make them, which I'll explain in a future video. But basically it boils down to, I need to run each type of die for each metal at one time in the vibratory polishers. So all the D4s from copper need to run at once, all the D6s need to run at once, all the D8s need to run at once, all the D10s need to run at once, all the D12s need to run at once, all the D20s need to run at once. So in order to do that, I have to make them all. So by the time we get everything through the finishing process for the metal dice, it'll pretty much all be done at the same time. Hopefully we'll have the wooden add-ons done and I'll be able to ship really close together, because the wood dice, now that we've got all the machines working, are progressing great. Because that machine over there behind me is working like it's supposed to finally. Another machine that we've got working now, which is really cool, is our date. You guys know I'm in absolute love with my date cold saw. It is one of my favorite tools in the shop. It's called a cold saw because you pull down on this and you pull this trigger, it actually floods coolant over the blade so it doesn't heat the metal up. And it gives us a mill finish cut. What that allows us to do is take a piece of bar stock, in the case of our aluminum and our copper and a couple of the other metals we use, we actually get a certified 3/4 inch bar stock. So this is certified to be 3/4 inch within plus or minus 2/10,000ths of an inch. That's 2/10,000ths is really tiny. I don't actually have a tool that can measure that small. So what I did is I modified our date, which you can see with this aluminum channel right here, to basically support the bar stock across the entirety of the jaws. Because the date comes with like a 2-inch gap here, which means we can't cut dice on it. We take this bar stock, run it through here in the jaws, up against our stock, which is set to be exactly 3/4 of an inch. Lock down on the lever, make our cut, unlock it, pull out a 3/4 inch cube. Then we radius the edges. We still do that by hand on the D6s, and they're ready for the vibratory at that point, which makes our D6s extremely quick to make, which helps us out on that end. But, here's a big but, a lot of the materials we use we can't get in certified size bar stock, which means they end up having to be run through the CNC machines over there to be squared. We use a fly cutter to do that, and I'll have a video show you guys all that. I'm actually only able to get the certified size stock in aluminum, copper, and stainless steel. All the other metals we do have to be run through the CNC machine first. So, but regardless of whether or not they come certified or whether we make them the right size here, they all end up being cut up on this machine, because this machine does it a whole lot faster than I can do on the mills, and it doesn't wear out $35 in mills to do it. Next up, what else we got for Kickstarter updates? Like I said, guys, I apologize if I'm rambling. It's almost 2 a.m. and I'm extremely tired. So, Maybackers. There are a couple of Maybackers that don't have their dice yet. Here's why. Yay for kicking the tripod. Alright, so these are Bodero's. We have all the Bodero's dice made. Bodero's dice have been made for a long time. We were waiting for the rest of y'all's guys' add-ons done for the backer level. Well, by the time we got the backer level add-ons done, the Wingate boxes had cracked. Not a good thing, and I'm not going to ship you guys cracked boxes. So what we're having to do is actually go to a different style box design, because I can't get the 8/4 stock I need to make Wingate boxes like our standard dice boxes, which is something like this. Okay, so this would be a standard style box. This is all made from one piece of wood. It's a very thick stock. We're actually about that thick when we start, and then we machine it down to be perfect size and all that good stuff. And then the lid is cut out of it. And the idea is that it looks like one piece of wood when we're done, so the end grain all matches up like that. Looks cool, right? I can't get 8/4 Wingate at this point in time. Don't know why. None of my suppliers have it in stock. So I need something else, which is a box like this. In case you're wondering, yes, we made these. These are our new Alchemist dice, something I've been working on the weekends for the past 2 weeks. This is a compartmentalized laser cut style box. Your boxes will still be made out of Wingate. I've actually got some Wingate over here that I was working on test cuts for. You guys can see some really, this is a really bad burn. So we won't be using this. This is trash. But this is a piece of Wingate we were doing test cuts in for your boxes. And I'm hoping to have them done hopefully at the end of this week, probably more likely the first part of next week. But as you lift this off, you can see that each dice is held individually. And this is all done on a laser cutter. So that's what your boxes will look like. The other people that do not have their dice from the Maybacker level are the guys with redwood burl dice. Let me show you why. So I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm using the front camera on my cell phone, which is kind of not all that great. This is a redwood burl die, and I don't know if you see that finish. It looks like complete and utter crap. Don't remember who finished this, if it was me or one of the minions, but somebody got a little overzealous when they were doing the finishing work on these dice and screwed them all up. So they're not getting shipped out like that. So I'm remaking them. I had to order a new burl. I finally got one that was the same stuff as this. Cost me a small fortune, but it's here and it is giant. It's like this tall. It's huge. Very, very skinny. It's only an inch thick, but it's a big slab. And we'll be cutting that up and making your dice all over again. The reason I can't just remove the finish on them is the wood is very soft, so we will screw the dice all up trying to remove the finish, and so it's just scrap, start over. Trying to think what else we've got. As far as stuff to show you guys, what I've got right here at hand in the shop is not a whole lot, because we cleaned up everything yesterday and today. We basically deep cleaned the entire shop, and it was getting pretty nasty in here. We will be back to making scribes starting on Monday. And we'll be making scribes until we are done making scribes, and then we'll be back into making dice. Once we get back into making dice, you guys will see your orders start shipping very, 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 very quickly. The holdup has not been the dice. It's always been the other stuff, all the add-ons we did for this Kickstarter, which Charlie's going to learn from his mistake. And our next Kickstarter will not have anywhere near the add-ons. It'll be a much smaller Kickstarter. Actually, probably going to do everything as limited backer levels and limit it to like 300 people. So that way we can fill it much faster. As far as updates are concerned, I know I promised you guys an update every week. We just right now with our batch size we're having to go to doing all the metal runs at once, doing all the scribes at once. There's just not a whole lot to update every week. We've been working on scribes for the past 4 weeks. So excuse me. I'm trying to get better with emails, guys. Right now with the scribes and stuff we're doing, I don't have the time to do email like I'd like to. Up until last weekend, I was the only one of my guys that could run a lathe. I actually sent the minions to lathe school last Saturday. They learned how to turn pins, so hopefully we can actually step up the process for making scribes. Let me show you guys what we picked up. We picked up a new bit of kit for scribe making. I have had, if you guys know, we use our legacy CNC router, 4th axis, to make scribes. Then we come over to this lathe, and I was the only one who could actually do the finish turning on the lathe because I hadn't trained any of the minions, and I don't have the experience to teach something. When you're teaching something, you need to know a lot more about it than what you're trying to teach. I'm not that experienced of a wood turner, so I'm not the person to teach the minions. So I sent them to school to learn that. We also picked up a new lathe, which we've been making use of as basically just a finishing station. So I would do the finish turning, and then a minion of unusual size would take over and do the finishing of the pin, applying the finish, and then using our pin press to assemble them. Now we'll actually be able to run 2 guys doing the finish turning, one on that lathe and one on that lathe over there. So hopefully this November set and the last 40 we got for the August backers will go a whole lot faster. Trying to think anything else we got. I don't think so, guys, and my 15 minutes is up for this update, so I'm going to have to do the rest in the next video. Anyway, it's late. It's 2 a.m. I'm going to bed. Good night.